What do you know, Chicago? Welcome to a very special matinee edition of the Voice of the Chicago Sports Fan, Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. I'm your man, Brandon, the Punky LT, left tackle Hyatt. Today we are visiting with the Chicago Sports Talk Radio superstar who has dedicated his professional career to being the eyes and ears and heart of the Windy City sports fans. For nearly 30 years, that's 3 decades, the forever young Jonathan Hood has covered and talked sports as a tireless advocate for the city sports fans. Jay Hood became a made Chicago sports media star during his hit run with the Score before pivoting to join David Kaplan on ESPN's 1000 top-rated Cap and Jay Hood morning show, which you can hear every weekday mornings from 7 to 10 a.m. Bright and early, folks. That's probably before most of you guys get your cup of Joe. He is also a superb host on Sirius XM's NBA radio and has been an ace play-by-play man for the University of Illinois Chicago's baseball and men's basketball teams. He is a true Chicago sports media icon. He is Jonathan J. Hood. Welcome to the Madhouse.
What's up,
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate that. Now the IRS knows exactly everything I do, so I appreciate that.
Audit coming.
Here comes an audit. Yes, enter audit. Jay Hood, once upon 1,000 Chicago Bulls rebuilds ago, Jonathan Hood was just a sports-loving kid from the city's east side with big dreams. How did you fall in love with Chicago sports growing up, brother?
It all started by just being able to watch sports as a young kid, just watching Cubs and Sox baseball and watching Bears and just being able to watch it. My dad and I always had a push and pull as a relationship, and we always got into it. But the one thing that we had in common is that we both love sports. And when I was not being the best J Hood I could be, the one thing that would keep me calm is being able to watch sports or play sports. And so, the Hood household as a kid was interesting because as a kid, there's uncles and cousins and grandparents coming over and being able to enjoy Chicago sports. Everybody just huddled around the TV. And I just remember this Budweiser flowing, every adult beverage you could think of flowing. And I'm watching this as a kid with my cousins. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Everybody in the family comes together because of sports. And I think that's where it all stemmed from, just being able to come together because of all the Chicago sports. And so that's where it all started. It was family that got me into everything Chicago sports.
That's awesome, man. That's such a great story.
Yeah.
Jay, do you remember the first college or professional Chicago sports game you attended, and is that what really got you hooked on Chicago sports?
I think back in the day, if you had perfect attendance in school, and I was not a scholar, you can imagine, it was you can get free Sox tickets if you had perfect attendance at the end of the season. And so there's nothing like those tickets come in the mail, right? I went to school, even though I hated it, I went to school every day, and I got those free tickets. And nothing like going to Old Comiskey, getting those free tickets, and come to find out you're sitting behind a beam. Like, it's like you get there, you're sitting down, so it's like you're looking to your left and right, having to move people over so you could see. But it was the White Sox. Being a lifelong Southsider, the White Sox is the first thing that I remember watching as a kid. From there, checking out going to Bears games, going to Soldier Field as a kid with my dad was fun. But baseball was the link for me.
Oh, and the Sox tickets are pretty much still free today.
There's a guy that pays attention to Chicago sports. About that? got a bright one here, following the stories every day. That's very good.
Hey, somebody's got some background noise in the back.
Hey, Jay, thanks for
turn that down or something. Something's going on. Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Hey, Jay, thanks. No problem. Hey, Jay, thanks for joining us. Growing up in Chicago, what was your favorite childhood sports memory?
That's a good question.
It had to be the Bears winning the Super Bowl. I remember about the Bears Super Bowl. What I remember about it is that at halftime, I just opened the front door because I was going to tell my friends, hey, what do you think of halftime? And I looked out and there was nobody in the streets. We lived on a main street where you could see the traffic go by every day. And I looked out and there was just nobody in the streets, like nothing, not neighbors. I'm talking about on the main street that we lived on the south side. I looked out and there was no cars. It was like, it was like a ghost town because everybody was watching the Bears. Didn't matter if you're a Bears fan or not, or into football or not, people were into the spectacle. And I really want that for this generation sports fan, for those that were not around in 85, to experience what it's like when the entire city is galvanized by Chicago Bears football. It's nothing like it. The Bears have been to the Super Bowl. We saw this against the Colts, but nobody really believed in Rex and the Bears, so it wasn't the same. But boy, when you have a team that is damn good, and then you have Sox fans, you got Cub fans, and you've got Hawks fans and Bulls fans, and you got goldfish and dogs and cats, and everybody comes together for the Chicago Bears. It is amazing when everyone comes together and they're like, yes, we want the Bears to win. We've seen the Cubs win the World Series, Sox win the World Series. We've seen Sky championships, Hawks championships. That's cool. But there's nothing like when the Bears are good and they win, where just everybody comes together and just like there are no people that are fighting with you within Bears fandom. Everybody's together when it comes to the Bears. I want that feeling again for our city.
Well, hopefully it needs to be repaired after the Civil War. But
Seems like
Jay, what was your favorite sport watching growing up? Was it baseball? Was it football? Was it basketball? Did you get to see hockey? Did you have Sports Vision and on TV? Remember the Sox were on TV for a while, or Sports Vision, excuse me. So what was your favorite sport growing up?
Yeah, to either watch or play was baseball. I grew up in an era, by the way, where baseball with the old pastime was it. It's funny, but guys, I don't know if you find it interesting, but I do. I find it interesting in 2024 how strong football is, where it's like it's on every network, and it's going to be on 2 streaming networks, like on Netflix, and it's going to be it's already on Amazon. I don't know about you. I find that fascinating that there was a time where I grew up where it was just on CBS or NBC, and then you had the Monday Night Football games, as you recall. Man, it's amazing to me. It's everywhere. But when I was coming up, man, baseball was it. Football was still strong, and I still enjoyed football. But baseball, everyone was attached to it because it was a different time, a slower time where it's like I got time to be able to consume 162 games, watch your favorite team and all that. So the sport I played the most as a kid was baseball. I played it at a high school level. Couldn't hit the curveball in college. That wasn't going to happen at all. And so that's why you hear me talking about it every day. But man, baseball to play it's kind of like when you're growing up, you just find a whole bunch of guys and just play softball or baseball. Back in the day in the South Side, it was called piggy. You just get 3 guys, and you can play. Someone's a catcher, someone's a hitter, someone's a pitcher. You can play all day until the streetlights come on. So that's what attracted me the most, is that baseball was it. Loved playing it, and it was my favorite sport for a long time.
What about fast pitch? Did you ever play that? I would imagine.
Yes. Oh yeah. Look.
You only need 3 at that particular point.
Well, right, Sean. It's. You got all day, right? Breakfast, right? And then they say, go out and play. Cool. Go out and play. That way I got to do nothing. I got to
stay at the house till the street lights come on.
Until the street light comes on, man. So you know how much baseball you can play in one day? It's like, from 10 a.m. until like 8:45, you're out there playing baseball all day and never get tired. Oh, I remember those days, right? When we're young. We could do that. So that's why baseball always mattered to me the most.
Yeah, I agree, man. You don't see kids playing it outside like you used to. It's just not that game, But you having played it in high school, and you said you weren't a scholar, but you were a decent athlete in high school. And just thinking about that, Who do you think was the best prep athlete in Chicago area in the time that you were playing high school ball?
So the best athletes at that time were basketball guys. There's no question about that. You think about the King High School guys under Sonny Cox during that time in the 80s into the 90s. Those guys were the best athletes. I mean, there were outstanding baseball players, but they were not on the next level like it was for basketball players. There was some football as well. Mike Sullivan went to St. Francis de Sales, got to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he's coaching now in the league. But, man, it was nothing like the basketball scene. As much as I love baseball, there was nothing like being able to sneak into the back door of a public league game and check out, like, when the walls are sweating, by the way. It's so hot in there. There's so many people. Even the fire marshal turned his back. It was like, you know what? It's okay. Come on in. The walls are sweating. It's so hot in some of those
small
games.
gyms, yeah.
Oh, my God. Like, that was it, by the way.
Yeah.
That was it. Dustin, let me tell you something. There's good high school basketball now, there's no question, but it's nothing like that time where you have pro prospects that are in the gym, when you have big-time college coaches that are on 111th Street, or they're in Bronzeville, or they're in Kenwood, they're in Hyde Park, and they're on the west side, and that big-time coach you see on TV every day sitting right next to you scouting talent. Oh, my God. So I would say that those high school greats from Simeon, from King, from Westinghouse, like Kevin Garnett in particular, it's too bad he was only here for a year. But players like that, that's where it was. Those players in basketball in high school were the best that I saw.
Give them some names because I'm not sure how old some guys are, but they may not remember Jamie Brandons, the Marcus Liberties, you know what I mean? Give them some names of those players that you're talking about.
Those guys in particular, Kevin Garnett comes to mind as well. I just think that if he was here for 4 years, he would have been the greatest high school basketball player in 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
This is like something where people thought Isaiah Thomas was the best, but Kevin Garnett definitely, to me, the best I saw as a young man in that era. I'm barely out of high school, out of college. I'm still in college, actually, and I'm seeing Kevin Garnett play that 1 year. I think that he was the best I saw in person from Chicago sports on a prep level.
That Farragut, yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Money Fields were no joke, man. That duo was crazy.
St. Francis, Eric Anderson and Simeon Thomas were pretty good.
Eric Anderson and Tom Kleinschmidt had battles in the Catholic League. And by the way, you just couldn't wait to get to Fridays. Fridays, you're out of school. Games at 4, the sophomore games at 6, the varsity games at 7:30, and then you're just kicking it. That night, you're just kicking it, and you're talking about high school basketball. Then you're trying to figure out how you can get to a Saturday game, and then do that all over again with your buddies at that time. For DeSales, Eric Anderson. The late Eric Anderson, he passed away, was the greatest athlete to come out of DeSales because he went to Indiana. He played for the Knicks. He played for Pat Riley with the Knicks. So he was tremendous. He had battles with Kleinschmidt. And unfortunately, DeSales could not get to the state championship thanks to Cunzo Martin and LaFonso Ellis from East St. Louis. Yeah, so
I'm a Rita guy, Jay. So I had Curtis Price. He was a year older than me. So when Eric Anderson came to Rita, man, when you talked about the sweating walls, that brought back memories because that gym was packed to the gills. And like you said, right after school, we waited, and we went out to get something to eat and came back, and it was amazing those times. Awesome.
And respect to Rita, by the way. DeSales never had a beef with Rita. We had a beef with, and when I played baseball with her, we had a problem with St. Lawrence. That's for sure. And, of course, Mount Carmel, I think all of us hate it.
I think you're right. You and I will definitely bond over that hatred.
That's right.
I'm good friends with Jordan Lynch now. I'm good friends with Jordan Lynch. I wish I congratulate him on the last 7 state titles he won. No, I think he's only 3, but it's just like it's very congratulations, and that's it. Very elusive, game 7, you just congratulate. That's very just because it's the right thing to do. But I don't talk about it. We don't talk football, nothing.
Because
Guys, we got over 100 in the
can.
building. Please like and
Yeah.
subscribe and hit that notification bell. Leave a 5-star review. You all know what to do. We've got some sort of feedback. If you guys could check your sound, hopefully it's not mine, but I hear some sort of echo or gargling or something. So if we could all check our sound and see what's going on with that. Who's next on deck? Dustin, and then it's Michael. Michael, right?
Yeah. So similar
Good, Mike.
to you, Jay Hood, I'm going to college right now to Mizzou to kind of study sports broadcasting. And with us that have been studying sports broadcasting like yourself, there's a moment that we can point to in our life where we're like, yeah, I want to do that. So what was that moment for you?
When I couldn't hit the curveball anymore. Pretty much. No, you know what? It's actually something I've always wanted to do. The reason why is because when I watch these broadcasters, I grew up watching Harry Carey, and I was watching Hawk Harrelson and then listening to a lot of radio. I grew up with older parents that listened to the radio a lot. And if it wasn't for news, it was for sports as well. And so I could hear like Pat Foley. I'm old enough to remember when Pat Foley, when he was the voice of the Blackhawks, do broadcasts by himself. And I always thought that was just fascinating how one broadcaster can capture the imagination of thousands, right? Just think about that. The power of the microphone, like this podcast right here with Brandon and the rest of you guys on here. The power of the microphone is so amazing because your opinion counts and it carries and it makes people think and it makes people live vicariously through you. It's an interesting thing when you think about being able to be on a podcast or radio show, TV show, and be able to give your opinion, and then people will have a reaction one way or the other. There's a power in that. And I want to have that power too of just when I'm doing play-by-play for the UIC Flames, especially when we do radio, just to paint that picture. I always think if someone's blind, how can I be able to paint that picture to let people know the UIC Flames have red uniforms today with blue hats, and they've got blue stirrups and red shoes and all that kind of thing. And we have green grass here on a beautiful day for baseball. And to be able to tell that story while people seeing it is great. And as a broadcaster, doing a talk show is the same thing. Hey, I feel this way about this subject. Am I crazy for feeling this way? And it's just that kind of thing. So it's a connection that you have with not just an audience, but one person, just like this show right here. There's a connection that people are coming to this show because they want to hear opinions, one, and two, they want to be able to agree or disagree. But either way, there's a power in that. And so I've always wanted, it's something I've always thought about as a young person, and to be able to do this for as many years as I have, it's quite a blessing to do that.
Hey, it was funny when you were talking about the rain or like the perspiration off the walls. When I was in boot camp in Waukegan before I went to the Middle East, there was a guy called the Rain Man. And whenever you pissed off the drill sergeant, he would call up the Rain Man. They would turn the furnace all the way up as hot as it could get, close all the windows, batten down all the hatches, make you put on as many clothes as you could, including your pea coat and everything. And then you'd have to do calisthenics until the perspiration off of the walls and the ceiling came down and rained on you. And it's weird how you hear something like that with the sweat off the walls will bring back something like that and to like power through that type of stuff. But like the funny thing is, like back in the day, it didn't matter when you were in a building and you were playing basketball. Like you would come home and you would have like these calluses and like all this like on your feet. You could play from the sun up till sun came down. It wouldn't even matter. I think I could probably go for a good 20 minutes of like 5-on-5, and I would only have half of the court, like a quarter of the court. And I wouldn't last that long. It's crazy how things have changed. But like you said, getting back to, you were talking about the podcast and being able to touch people in their own environments, in their arenas. It's really cool to be a part of that and bring you into there. And hopefully we can like have some sort of dialogue to where people are hearing about you for the first time that they may not otherwise know about you. They might hear you and Cap talk on a daily basis, but this hopefully is some intimate stuff where they're like, oh man, this is cool. We get to hear a little bit more about what's under the hood. You know what I mean?
Well, my
So-
hope is that I have not chased your listeners and viewers away by my stories. That's the key of all this.
No.
By the way, there's nothing like me telling this young man here about the power of radio and the power of being on the microphone. And he turns it into a story about being wet. That's what Brandon just did. You see what he did there? I mean, after I poured my heart out to him to explain to him the importance of broadcasting, what does my man do? It reminds me of when I had Dakota, just like that's the best.
Hey, your chemistry with Cap is pure magic, man. It's awesome. People come every morning. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm listening to it on the way into work, or I'm already at work, and sometimes I'm running a little bit late, and my boss is like, "Where are you at?" Hopefully he's not watching, and now he knows why I'm tardy sometimes, and I come up with like these weak excuses, but I got to get a little bit of squeeze, a little bit of more juice out of the orange in the morning, and hear something that's going on, especially when you guys like hit something that's fresh out of the box that I haven't heard at all. I mean, what's the secret sauce for you guys, the Cap and J Hood show? I mean, you guys work better than Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen running a fast break sometimes, man.
The secret sauce is that the show is not about Cap, and the show also is not about me. It's about the audience.
Yeah.
You want to know the truth? That's what it's about. Yeah, I have done solo shows for 20 plus years, and so is Cap, by the way, at WGN. But here's the thing, though. The thing is that it's not about him. No matter how big Cap's ego is, and no matter how big my ego is, it's not about that. It's about the audience,
right.
And I think we both know that. And so, if you want to know what that's about, it's about our listeners. It's about our partners. It's about the Chicago sports fan. And what's so great is that we've been able to extend outside of Chicago all over the country. We got listeners in the UK that check in every day. I think that to me, that blows my mind. I know it's commonplace today because you can fire up this podcast and there's people watching internationally watching this show. But to me, for someone who started just doing Chicago sports to a Chicago audience just around the border of Chicago, hell, I started at Kennedy King College where you could just hear it around the block, around 68th and Wentworth. But the idea that people are touched and care to reach out to us, whether they love us or hate us, for wherever they are, I think it's great. I think it's great because there's an enthusiasm for our show one way or the other. And I think that's the secret sauce, is that it's about the fan. And it's about servicing the fan and also being able to speak in a way where it's not over your heads. We're not arrogant and telling you how to live. What it's about is it's a shot in a beer at the bar. That's how I approach it. What I'm talking to you about now, I would talk about at any bar, any lounge, any club in Chicago. And I just happen to have a microphone in front of me. That's the difference between what I do and me doing this if I was doing this at a bar. So that's the secret sauce to me.
Yeah, and I kind of like touch with what you're saying. A lot of people say that on my podcast. It's not like I'm the smartest guy in the room. It's like I'm the guy that you just want to go kick back and have a couple brews and talk about Chicago sports. And that I'm the same way, man. I like, honestly, as far as like being as transparent as I can, like I did this because at an early age, listening to the and I saw like the mailman come and he had like the Walkman. He had the Walkman and he was listening to the San Francisco Giants baseball. I grew up in California, and he was listening to San Francisco Giants baseball games. And at one time he shooed me away because he was trying to he wanted to hear when Will was getting on, Will Clark or Barry was getting on, and which one of the two was getting on. I got in the middle of his hearing, what he said. He come back the next day and he told me, he goes, "Hey kid, I'm gonna tell you what happened, and I always wanted to get involved in that. And the Mike and Mike in the morning, it didn't really feel like there was a place for us back then, because one was a graduate from Northwestern who never played a day of football in his life. And then Mike Golick, he played storied, but there was still like some beef against each other. It was really cool. The ebb and flow. It was so cool, man. And then come the podcasters and stuff, watching Sean and a couple other guys. And I'm like, and then my buddy from my neighbor, actually, Greg Braggs from CHGO. I'm like, holy crap, he was just in the stands the other day. This could be us, So it's really cool how like we've evolved and kind of got into that whole thing where now we can be a part, and we've got a listeners and stuff too, and share all this kind of cool stuff. So man, it's so cool. It's so surreal for you to be on the podcast, brother. Thank you so much. We got a couple more questions, and then we'll cut you loose. But we want to kind of try to get around all of Chicago sports, if you don't mind. So I think Kyle's next on deck.
Yeah, Jay. I mean, I just wanted to ask you. Speaking of your fans, you've definitely paid your dues at the Score. Going from the vampire shift to the prime drive time shift. How did those fans help influence you and keep you engaged in perfecting the art of sports radio?
I just think that working nights I was able to really sharpen my craft doing that. It's funny, the perception of shifts in radio, because to me, when I was working at night, I was the first one with the breaking news before the morning show got it, before the newspapers got it, because I was on at night until sometimes midnight, 1 a.m. I loved it, because if I was making mistakes, I was trying to find my voice, and I was able to figure out, okay, what's the rhythm? Because it's one thing to just do a show once a week, but it's always important to be able to put as much content out as possible, so that way that what you have to say flows, that your style flows. And so for me, I think that the support from the audience from day one, I've been doing this for a long time. I remember my first sports radio talk show by myself was in 2000. And I just thought that I was good, but I wasn't ready yet. Even though I was doing it, I wasn't quite ready yet, because I still had to be able to sharpen my skills as a solo host and just like, okay, talk about myself, talk about the issues, have a rapport with the listeners, have a style. And for someone who's listened for radio for a long time, even though I listened to it, I still had to do it and perform. And so time and shifts, and taking any shift possible and taking any show possible, no matter what time it was, doesn't matter if it was weekends, I had to do it. And I'll share this with you guys too. This business that we're in could be very difficult, especially when you're missing birthdays and funerals and weddings and special family events because of the business. And I went through all of that. But you had to do it, or I had to do it. I think many had to do it because you want to be as good as you could in this business. A lot of times there were no days off. You took those holidays, and you took the toughest shifts, and you took shifts in which nobody was listening, but yet you had to do it because of the love of doing this podcast, this radio show, this TV show, whatever. So the audience has always been there no matter what. And that's always been cool for me.
Well, practice makes perfect, man. You're killing it, Jay. Keep it up. We all love listening to you.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I mean, right at this point, you got the show with Cap, and I know it seems like you definitely had to put in a lot of work, and it sounds like you sacrificed a lot to get where you are. But it seems like today you're living your best life, man. Do you feel like this is like a dream come true that you're living right now with the success and after all the work you put in?
Yeah, since 1991, it's been a dream come true, because that's when I started in the business. So every day I pinch myself to say, thank God, that I'm able to do this and hang in there. There's been friends of mine that were in the business and no longer in the business, and they wish they can get back in. But I think that, as I told my wife of 24 years, I said, before we got married, I said, I just want you to know that there's going to be a third person in our lives, in our marriage. And she goes, I don't do that. I go, no, not that. Not that. I said, the third person in our lives, in our marriage, is going to be this business.
All of Chicago.
The business, right? That's that. I said that was my mistress before we got married, and this is going to be in our relationship for the rest of our lives. So, yeah, Dustin. I mean, it is part of who I am, this business and being able to perform and to be able to. And here's the reason why is because of stories like this one. I'll share this quick story with you. There's a guy that emailed me 5 years ago that said, when I listened to you at the Score, I was homeless for 2 years and I lived in my car. And the only thing that got me through those nights was listening to your show.
Wow.
That's when you're making an impact. You just think that you're just talking shit and just talking sports and just getting through the shift. But you don't know on the other side of that radio, that screen, who you're impacting. He goes, for 2 years I was homeless. I was able to get back on my feet and get a job and, live with people until I was able to start my own family. Now, then he showed me a picture of his family and that he's married now. But 2 years, and you know how brutal those winters are in Chicago, right? 2 years, he goes, I walked the streets, and then when I got into my car was my home, and I listened to you just to get through those nights. That's when you're making an impact. That's when it matters the most.
No, that's awesome. Inspirational, man. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
That's good stuff. Good shit.
Everybody over 136 in the building, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Leave a 5-star review. You all know what to do. Right now, we're with Jonathan Hood is in the building, and he's in the hot seat. We're asking him a bunch of awesome questions. We're getting really intimate with him. It's really cool. So up next, we got Sean Sierra. Sean Sierra, you got a question for him, man?
Yeah, let's look around the city and the different sports teams. Give me some hot takes you have. We'll wait for the Bears, but give me a hot take for the Cubs.
Well, Sean, in my career, I've never given one. I've never given a hot take. But I can give you a strong opinion, though, on the old school. I give you that.
Give me a strong opinion.
Yeah, okay. I'll be glad to do that. I never give those because you know what? Everyone has a hot take, but who has a good opinion? That's
why we asked you.
So Sean, I think I think that the Cubs are going to go to the playoffs this year. And I said last year the reason why that they did not go is because Jed Hoyer did not believe in the Cubs. He said as much to us on opening day, by the way, when we had him on opening day when the Cubs played the Rockies. Mm-hmm. He swung by to our show. He didn't really believe in the team. That's why he didn't add on to getting better relief pitching last year, and that's why the Cubs fell short. Didn't believe in the team. The team, as a matter of fact, Jed was going to trade some assets at the deadline last year, and the team told him, don't do that. Believe in us. We can do this. You don't have to trade assets. You don't have to trade us. And he said, okay, I'm not going to trade anybody. But he didn't add a lot. He added Candelario, and that was it. And so I think that this Cubs team is going to go to the playoffs, and I also believe that they will add on what they need. They need relief pitching. They need to be able to add an extra bat or two. The team's good, but they need a little bit more. And so I believe that they'll go to the postseason once they add a little more to the roster.
Okay, and then one more before I let someone else hop in. Your Bears, what's your strong opinion toward the Bears this season?
I believe the Bears are a playoff team. And I think that they're a playoff team because I want you to think about, and Sean, you go back, right, with the Chicago Bears team, these off seasons, where the Bears would add a player or two, have a good draft, one or two good players, and we'll see what happens. I can't remember a time where the Bears had this kind of off season where they had so many different weapons. Like, it's one thing to have a good draft and say, okay, we're going to move forward with Caleb Williams. All right. And to say, okay, we got Ruma Dunze as a wide receiver. But to me, the most impressive thing, because we knew that Caleb was coming, was all the other additions in free agency. I can't remember a time where the Bears added so much in an offseason.
Yeah.
To the point where I didn't know the Bears would get DeAndre Swift. I didn't think because I liked the running back room. I liked it, but then they said, but he said no, a little bit more seasoning with DeAndre Swift. It's like, okay, the offensive line needs to be bolstered, so we're going to bring in 3 offensive linemen, and we're going to go forward with that. So now it's Darnell Wright, Nate Davis, Ryan Bates, Tevin Jenkins, and Braxton Jones, and also they drafted a kid from Yale, maybe a project, maybe not, but he tried to address it in the draft and free agency. And then you say, okay, we like our secondary. Our secondary is good. No, we're going to add Kevin Byard and put him with an already talented group with Jalen Johnson and Brisker and Kyler Gordon and Tyreek Stevenson. So what I like is that they
Replace
made
the Pro Bowler with a Pro Bowler.
Yeah,
A younger
added
Pro Bowler.
more. Yeah, but I mean, when's the last time you saw the Bears do this much? So that's what I think that's so good about this team, to the point where I think they're going to be a playoff team, because I know you can't confuse activity with accomplishment, but the Bears did a lot this offseason to try to get over the hump. I like that.
Okay.
This is the most dangerous offense I've ever seen in Chicago. I was born in '88, and I've never seen anything like this.
No. I mean, so it's Adunze, it's Keenan Allen, So then you've got Cole Kmet at tight end. So and you got DJ Moore. So say for instance Keenan Allen, who I don't expect him to play 17 games. He might play 14 because he's up in age. All right, that's all right. We got Adunze and we got DJ Moore. Can't get the ball to those guys. Okay, we'll give it to Cole Kmet. And then they have a backup tight end and Gerald Everett, who's very good, by the way. And so all of it, to me, the biggest issue for me is how good will this offensive line be to hold up for Caleb Williams? Williams will get the ball out quicker than Fields, there's no doubt. But how much time will he have?
Right.
Question.
Yep.
Right.
Keep him clean.
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest surprising moves in the Cubs offseason was them actually going after Craig Counsell. He set a record-setting $8 million salary, would change the spare with Joe. He's heard a mountain of injuries, but has he lived up to that $8 million contract so far? It's still early, but so far, has he lived up to it?
Counsell, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
No, but that's not a negative. It's not a negative though. It's just that it's so early. I asked the question, and it just got under Jesse Rogers' skin. It got all over him. When I'd say, "Hey, so what does David Ross do?" It's a fair question, right? Like, as much as he was like a World Series hero and a hero to that 16 team, then what does David Ross do? Because he stabilizes the locker room, blah blah blah. I go, that's not what I asked you. I said, what does he do? The team was good. I said, but is there anything that David Ross does that makes you think he's the difference between a win and a loss? And we went around and around about it, And this is not a conversation of whether or not David Ross is a bad manager. He just can't just be sitting there as a manager and just let things happen. So with Craig Counsell, I don't know what he does yet. I just know he won in a small market in Milwaukee. And there was a smart move for the Cubs to swoop right in ahead of the Mets to get him as manager. I just need to know his imprint. What does he do? He was good. It was good before he got there. I just want to know what's next. What does he do to make the team better? So is he worth the money? I'll say no now, but the Cubs will make the playoffs, which they could have done under Ross. Anyway, to me, what's next? That's the question mark. I don't know the answer to.
Well said, man.
So with you touching on the Cubs, you believe in the Cubs will make the playoffs. Do you believe if they get a couple pieces into this bullpen, is the playoffs their ultimate ceiling? Or can they win the World Series?
No, they're not a World Series team. They're a playoff team. When I look at sports, I look at it as it's the Cubs in the division, it's the Cubs in the in the National League, it's the Cubs against the American League, it's the Cubs against everybody. Then I look at the Cubs and I think about them against the Braves, them against the Phillies, them against the top teams in the National League, and then the Cubs against everybody else. And I say the Cubs are good, but they don't have the huge power hitters in the lineup. They have good players, like who wouldn't want Cody Bellinger on their team, good or bad, right? I like Cody Bellinger. I like Seiya Suzuki on the team. But I want you to think about the Cubs versus all these other teams that have power hitters, 3, 4, 5, 6. This Braves series, they've got a ton of guys. That's a 100-win ball club right there, like they were last year. But look at the Cubs lineup, and then look at the Braves. Look at the Cubs and the Phillies. Look at the Cubs and the Orioles. Look at the Cubs and the Yankees. That's what I'm talking about. where I think the Cubs are a good team. They do need to be able to add more in their bullpen. Kyle Hendricks is not the answer. They need a closer. They need 2 bullpen arms and an extra bat at some point.
Yeah.
And then they move forward, and they're going to be Cub fans will be celebrating them getting to winning the division or getting the playoffs one way or the other.
Gotcha. Yeah, and they don't have a lot of those other teams don't have a lot of easy outs in their lineup, so I understand that point exactly.
Yeah, like I'm a big Morel fan, right? I think that, dude, that guy's got so much energy. I just think that at some point he'll break through and be like a bright star in this city. I have a penny stock on him. When he first got here, dude, I remember the dude would come to the plate and say what's up to the catcher. Hey, man, what's going on? Hey, Mr. Empire, how are you, man? So good to be here. It's all good. Like, he was so happy to be in the big leagues, right? Mm-hmm. And like, he's just this energy source that I like on the team. He's different from the other guys. I like Morel a lot. I hope that he breaks out because I'm a fan of that guy. I think that he can be – now, he's out of position at third, but I think that he's the kind of guy that keeps a clubhouse loose for a long season and can pay dividends for the team.
Mr. Hood, before I ask you a question about Jerry, I want to share something with you and the rest of the we've been waiting patiently. As you guys know, I'm going to the Hall of Fame on Mongo's. Out of 50, I believe it's 50 of his family members and friends. He invited me to go to the Hall of Fame to be there. Misty just sent me a picture. They were waiting on the bus because it's an interesting situation in where they have to build this bus around an idea, a concept of what he would possibly look like under his situation with ALS. So they actually finished this, sent this to her, and she sent this to me. This is what the bus looks like of Steve Mongo McMichael. They did a really good job.
Yeah.
Really cool. So just wanted to share that with you guys.
I do have a Mongo story for you. I have several.
Oh, cool! Please, yeah.
And for time, I'll say that I'll give one story. You know, you call him Mongo, I call him Coach. You know why I call him Coach?
What's that?
Because he was my coach when he coached the Chicago Slaughter Arena League team. I don't know if people know that.
Well, that's awesome.
Nice.
That's why his eyes lit up. I went and saw Misty
great.
last week, Wednesday. I was at the house, and I told him that you were about ready to be on the show, and he can only communicate with his Tubi machine, and his eyes do the whole reading or whatever, but the machine was kind of off, and if he's like tired, he won't really use it because it takes a lot of energy out of him. Yeah. But I saw his eyes, bro. So there was something going on there when I said your name. That's cool. So he was your coach, huh?
Yeah, it's funny. So they had celebrity guys coming in to play on the Chicago Slaughter team at the Sears Center, up in the States. And I got my uniform on. I got the helmet ready. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get in this Arena League game. Let's go, bro. It's been a while, getting in there. The game got tight. It was like a 7-point lead for the Slaughter. And I was going to come out and be on special teams in the second half. And I got my helmet on. I'm like getting it ready. I'm about to jump over, and he holds my shoulder and he goes, "Hoodie, game's too close. Not yet." The big arm, like the big hand, just grabbing me. It's like, "No, Hoodie, can't bring you out there. Game's too close." So I didn't get my chance to get out there in special teams. But no, that's my guy. We've done a lot of shows together. As some people don't know, we did a lot of shows together. And of course, I followed his career as a pro wrestler as well after he was done as the United States champion in WCW. So, big fan of Steve McMichael. Coach,
that's awesome. Hey, speaking of WCW, he gave me his belt because I helped him raise like a bunch of money for his ALS, whatever. And she, in his Tubi machine, she sent a text to me one day. She says, "Tell your co-host he can have my belt." Well, as soon as I got the belt, I gave it to my son, who's 8 years old. He loves wrestling and all this and that. And I told him, I said, "Hey, listen, we're going to have to put this thing in a glass case because I don't want you taking it, dragging it outside and challenging the neighborhood to come get a piece of the title and the belt. You know what I mean? This is going to be in a special place, you know? So
that's
great,
priceless, man.
Great guy, great family. I'm so happy to be able to be a part of that. I wish I could have played for a guy like him because it's almost seems like for all the stories that we've heard on and off the podcast that's the type of guy that will make you run through a wall, that'll galvanize you, and not only somebody that could there's people that push harder than they pull. I think he could do both, So it's really cool to be a part of somebody that could do both, Quick question about the Sox. Is there a chance for the sanity of White Sox fans like you that we'll see a change in ownership on the South Side, or will this be a Jerry Reinsdorf team playing Jerry Reinsdorf's way until he's 90 years old and beyond?
Is Jerry Reinsdorf dead yet?
No. Say less. Hey, Bear Lismo says, hey, Hoodie, he's giving a shout out to you, Bear Lismo. There's quite a few people in the chat that are giving you love, by the way, but be out of time's sake, we just got to keep moving on. So we appreciate you guys. Sean.
No, Jay, sticking with the White Sox, what do you think the White Sox have to do in 2024 to avoid their second 100-loss season in as many years?
Stop playing baseball for the rest of the season.
All hope is gone. All hope is lost.
I mean, Kyle, you know what this is. Yeah. If you have talent, you can win games. They don't have any talent, but it was by design, though. I've never seen a Sox season. No, let me take a step back. I've not seen a season in Chicago in which a team doesn't know what their 5-man starting rotation is after spring training. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen a team that says, you know what, we need a opening day guy. You pitch opening day. I mean, I want you to think about that. They had no starting rotation ready for the season. They piecemealed the team together to just field the team. And so out of this, there's only a couple of guys that I like on the team. One of them is the catcher, Corey Lee. I think they might have a rotation guy, maybe two. Eric Fetty might be one of them. But, I mean, look at the team outside of Luis Robert, especially when he's not playing. There's nothing there. Zach Remillard is not the future, and some of these other guys like Tommy Pham, these scrap heap guys. The guys are almost out of baseball. They're playing for the White Sox. You know how bad that is? You know how horrible that is? Guys are almost out of baseball, and they're just trying to make do on this team. That's it's disappointing because no matter if you're a Cubs or Sox fan, the White Sox still represent Chicago, a major market. And for them to be able to do what they're doing or not doing is very disappointing for me as a South Sider.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot.
Jay, back to a team that's actually trying to win in Chicago, man. Do you think we're going to see a new Bears stadium here in our lifetime? And Kevin Warren's $4 billion plan is going to be able to clear all the hurdles in front of it to get done on the lakefront?
I would say that in the way we've covered it, and I just read what you read from the Tribune and Sun-Times, Crane Chicago Business. Like I lived here all my life. I know how politics work. I think we all know how politics work around here. I mean, that's just
everybody needs to get paid.
Well, you know the story. Like I don't have to tell you. There's nothing that I could tell you that you don't already know about how politics works. When the Bears rolled out this whole plan at Soldier Field, the idea of being able to have a new stadium at Soldier Field. Well, Mayor Johnson, he needed that win, and they got together and said, you know what, I'd love to, and again, Kevin Warner said openly, I'd like to be able to build at Soldier Field a new stadium on the same property. Okay, but you still got to deal with the Friends of the Park. People that are not from this area need to understand that the Friends of the Park District, is as powerful as City Hall in this town. They have so much autonomy that they could tell you what to do. They'll tell you, like, yeah, you're not going to build here because the Friends of the Park say so. That's crazy, but it's true. It's crazy how much power they have. So I would prefer them to move to Arlington Heights so they can have Beartown. So that way the Bears can control it, not the city of, not the park district. Can't you have Beartown where you have all these shops? You can go there 365. They have these mega events, these big concerts, WrestleMania, Final Fours, all this stuff, right? The Bears could be able to keep that money in-house instead of having to go to Chicago. We go to Soldier Field, do the Penguin Walk, the shitty parking, just the amenities not the way they need to be. I would prefer them to move to Arlington Heights so that way they can have all the space they want to do to be able to have a special experience. And Soldier Field, it's not the Bears' experience. It's the Park District's experience. And that's so disappointing.
No.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, that's well said.
I wish it. And by the way, I wish it was in Chicago. I like that, like where the Sox want to be, right? The Sox want to be at the 78. I wish that there was enough space to have parking and have those amenities there. There's not enough space for that. So as big as Chicago is, there isn't enough space to have a stadium in Chicago outside of putting it at Soldier Field on the same spot. And if you do, you still are beholden to what the park district wants. I'd rather have Bearstown than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, no, I think Sean's made that point on the
So
on our
as
show
of late,
before as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe Arlington Heights is 100% the best place for the Bears to be. No doubt about it. In moving on from that really quick, the WNBA seems to be making a lot of headlines with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Do you think that Angel Reese could become the biggest star in the WNBA in Chicago since Candace Parker?
Yeah, I think so. And this just came in the other day. Where is it? The WNBA. By the way, ask somebody at a bar who's the logo for the WNBA. What the hell is it?
I saw it in there somewhere.
Yeah.
There you go.
There it is. Who's the logo for the WNBA? Ask somebody at a bar. Do a bar bet. Ask him who's the logo for. We know Jerry West is for the NBA. Who's the logo for the WNBA? And let the people. Yeah. And the answer to win your bet is it's nobody. It's just a woman. So if you want to win, you want to make easy money. Yeah.
It really is nobody.
Yeah.
If it's nobody, it could be anybody.
Jeez.
Now, if you want to win the bet, smart guy, this is what you do is you say, "Who's the logo?" And they'll say like, they'll come up with like Candace Parker, or is it like Reggie Miller's sister, something like that.
Yeah.
And actually, it's nobody. It's just a logo. Tarasi. But that's how you win a bar bet.
I wouldn't be surprised in 5 years if it's Caitlin Clark.
Well, here's the thing. So you asked me about Angel Reese. And so I love that pickup for the Sky. First of all, you got 2 picks in the top 10. And I think that's just awesome. I think that's awesome. Because the Sky now have a chance to be able to, to be able to get back to the playoffs and maybe win a championship with Angel Reese. She's that good. Cardoso's that is very good also. So I think that they have a great opportunity. The reason why I like it, guys, look, I respect the WNBA. I enjoy it. I also love gambling on it too. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. That helps me grease the skids right into college football season. I build that money up. Like, give it right to the college football. I can't wait for college football season. So, no, I like it. And you know what?
I think you just gave me an idea.
I'm a big fan. If you ever want advice, I'm here and tell you how to bet the WNBA.
One that's told me that they've won money on WNBA. There was another guy at Bridges Scoreboard. He told me, "Is it wrong that I've already bet 3 times this week alone on WNBA and I've won money?" I'm like, "Whoa." So
it's quite the formula. But I've been doing very well the last few years in the WNBA. But I'll tell you this: for us alpha males on this show, it's women's sports. Who cares? Women's sports? No. It's competition. if we all love sports, love competition, I don't care what gender they are.
Yeah.
Competition. And by the way, if no one realized that, Caitlin Clark makes you realize it. When her time in college, even guys were watching. Like, look at this woman shooting 40-foot jump shots. Holy cow! Like that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So to me, it's not about men, women. It's just about competition. And the women, they play hard. They're more fundamental than the men more times than not. So I enjoy watching it. I'm not saying I'm locked in on every game like I am for the NBA or other sports, but there's certain games you're like, there's some star power there, and it's gonna be some battling out there, and I enjoy it. I really do.
I love
I love Mongo.
I'll gamble. I'll gamble on cornholing.
Well, what you do with your private life, Kyle, is separate to this podcast. So you're more than welcome. You have every right. But
I love the fundamentals of the WNBA, and you talked about Caitlin Clark and all the great things she did in college, and it's gonna, people are giving her a bad rap, like, oh, she's doing this. People forget it's literally within 6 weeks she went from the NCAA championship game to her first preseason game, and there's no off season allowed for her. She's at the end of the season. If you ever play basketball, you're tired. You're tired. Your body, all the strength you build up in an off season is gone because you've been playing so much. I think next year when she gets a full off season, and then everyone's coming for her. Everyone's coming for her because she's the hot thing and whatever. I think she's going to do better. My question to you then is where did the Chicago Sky go from here? Because now they got the superstar. They got two superstars. Although I think Angel Reese is a bigger superstar than Camila Cardoso, but you still got two twin towers. What are they going to do about their facilities? Because that's what people are going to Vegas. That's where they're going. Hell, you just saw the city of Vegas under investigation, of course, now for it, but gave all the aces $100,000 just for playing. You know what I mean? A sponsorship. New York has their own facility. Other places have their own facility. They're practicing out of the old Deerfield multiplex, up there, but it's not theirs. Are they going to do something there? Because are they going to try and get their own facility? Because if they do, that is attractive to free agents. That is attractive to stars, and that's going to make this Chicago Sky team competitive for years to come.
Sometimes, Sean, this city, as big as it is, feels like Oshkosh.
Yeah,
and as big as our city is, and the big towers, and the 5-star restaurants, and all the big houses that we got around here, sometimes it feels like a small town. And I don't understand in this big city why the two stars that came from college that come to the WNBA, Chicago Sky, are treated the way that they are. It's disappointing. Angel Reese comes into our first press conference at the Chicago Sky. She just kind of walks through. No pageantry, no balloons, no little girls from high school or from grade school celebrating her. She just kind of walks in, just says hello. And there's just 5 people in the media just sitting down waiting to do our press conference. There's no imagination with the Chicago Sky. There's no imagination.
I requested credentials too for them, and they didn't get back to me. That's their fault.
Oh, but you think that's just you?
No, I know it's a lot of other people, but that's their own fault. That's the Sky's fault. Get everybody. They missed the boat on that, man, and that bothered me because if you want it, then you know what? What if there are 50 members of the media there? Now that's a story. Now that's exciting. You imagine her walking, Angel Reese. Even if there's no pomp and circumstance, you walk out and there's 50 members of the media there. She's like, oh snap! Oh, this is also this is what it's like in Chicago. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yes. I compare that to what's happening in Indiana. I compare that with what's happening in Connecticut and New York and some of these other places, and it's just not the same. The Chicago Sky, from the beginning, have had a hard time being able to understand, hey, you have to promote. It's more than just getting on Twitter, promoting it. It's just a whole experience. I know we're a busy city, a busy sports city, but the Chicago Sky are part of it. And they got to start acting like it. You don't act like a small team or a small market. You're Chicago. It does say Chicago Sky, right? It's not the Bloomington Sky. It's not the Rockford Sky. It's a Chicago Sky. So they got to start acting more like a big girl operation. Why did I turn back? What happened there? What happened to my picture?
What's going on, man?
What happened there?
There you go.
Hey,
I feel like I'm in a Batman movie.
That's weird. I was doing just fine. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So moving on, there's the Blackhawks. They clearly weren't very good last year. I think a lot of us expected that to kind of be the case, but we can see what they're building. They add Bedard, but there's still a lot of holes. But they have an opportunity to get someone really good in this draft. They have the number 2 overall pick. They won't be able to get Celebrini, which kind of stinks. They just missed out on that in the lottery. But who do you think they should take? Do you think they should take another forward or beef up their defense potentially? Because I've been looking, and there's a pretty good debate going on about which way they should go here. And I think it's pretty close to what we saw with the Bears. So I'm kind of wondering your opinion here.
The answer is yes, Mike. The answer is yes.
That's how I feel about it too.
Well, you know what? Because there is no push and pull on what the Blackhawks need. It's trying to build around Connor Bedard. Some of the stuff, by the way, we talk about every day is not that deep. Like with the Blackhawks, they need more talent, young talent, right? And so anything you could build around Bedard, I would say that it's about defense first. So I would say it's that. But if it's a winger, it's fine too. Like you're starting from scratch. You're starting from the bottom. Your base now is Bedard. You're hoping that you have a couple of veterans around him that you could build around as you try to become a playoff team. But to me, here's the thing. I go to like Jay Zawaski. I go to other sources around the NHL when I need my Hawks information. And everything I read is it's pretty much a clean slate after Bedard. Like whatever they need, if they have young assets that you want to trade, you can to be able to bolster, depending on how fast you want to be able to consider yourself a playoff team. I think that you build incrementally and slowly. Not like the Sox slowly, where you won't be into it until 2031. I'm talking about trying to build in the next 5 years so you can be a playoff team. So I would say there is no debate. It's trying to get the right players to be able to help to build around Bedard. That's my choice.
Yeah, best player available.
Do you think they're the Devils from 5 years ago?
They are not.
You think they're the Devils from 5 years ago?
They are not. They are not. I think it's actually worse. No, I think it's actually worse. Say, for instance, Bedard, and God forbid Bedard gets hurt. Now what?
Yeah. I just hope they don't run into a situation
no
like
Say it again, Sean.
Go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say, I hope they don't like
Frank
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There is no hope if Bedard gets hurt.
That's for sure. That's very true. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just kind of hoping like the Hawks don't run into like a situation with the Oilers, because you could kind of look at them and like they got McDavid, they got Draisaitl, they got 2 guys, and then they kind of just signed a bunch of guys and said, all right, I hope we win now. And it kind of really hasn't worked. They're in the Eastern Conference Final now, but McDavid was drafted almost a decade ago. I hope it doesn't take that long after Bedard gets drafted and we're in 2033 finally making a Western Conference Final again. But I think Kyle Davidson's done the right thing. I really think he's doing this the right way. And I think maybe in 2 years, they're right back in the playoffs and the city's buzzing in the summer again with baseball and hockey.
Yeah, I would say that that's exactly right. I believe when you start from scratch, I can't bash Davidson because you're starting with a kid. You remember that hard hit into the board that Bedard had and he was missing? What I'm saying is that if you're starting to build towards something and you're missing Bedard, like who's going to be your catalyst? Who's going to be your linchpin? I just look at all of Chicago sports like the Blackhawks and say, who's your base? Like who's your cornerstones? You only have 1, maybe 2 on the club right now. And so that's what I'm looking at. It's a slow build, but I don't think it should take forever because it's the NHL. I think that you can get better. Here's my question though, Mike. What are they doing as far as their depth at goaltender? That's what I need to know.
I think again, right now I don't hate that Mrazek signing. I think a lot of people weren't fans of it because they're like, why are you signing a 30-year-old guy? You're trying to rebuild, but he was pretty damn good for them last year. Without him, they might have lost 5 more games. But they do have depth. I believe they drafted Adam Gajan. I believe that's how you pronounce it. They drafted him in the 2nd round last year. Camesso's in Rockford now. I think he comes up next year at some point. Maybe not the opening day goalie, but I believe he comes up at some point. And I think that's kind of where they stand at goalie at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if they take another one, though, because you can never have too much goaltending. When you look at the Hawks back then, they had is it Niemi? That was their 2010 goalie, and they had Crawford in the system. He comes up 6 years after getting drafted. He's their goalie for 13-15. Scott Darling came out of nowhere, seemingly in 2015. He stepped in, won a few playoff games in that series in 15. So it just seems like you can never have too much goaltending. And I believe they could probably add another one in this draft upcoming. Although I haven't paid attention to too many goaltending prospects, so I got to get on that.
Hey, Hood, shifting gears really quick over to the Chicago Bears again. You know, I got excited when I'm a diehard USC Trojan fan. So when we got Mark Sanchez, a.k.a. Dirty Sanchez, we got him in the building, man, and he did nothing good for us at all. But I was excited. I was like, woohoo, here we go. We got a USC quarterback on the Bears. So we got Caleb in the building, bro. I got to ask you the big question we've all been waiting for, okay? Give us your wins, losses, yards, touchdowns, interceptions. What's your prediction for Caleb this year?
I would say just as a base.
Yeah.
I would say I'd love, if blessed with good health, I would love to see Caleb Williams throw for 3,700 yards plus.
Okay. 30
touchdowns. And if that means that the Bears are a playoff team, if that's 10-7, then it'd be 10-7. I just know that there's a growth spurt for every young quarterback in the league. As much as I am excited about Caleb Williams, I just know that he's got to get used to the NFL. I know he played at USC in a lot of big games in the Pac-12. However, for every quarterback, there's a learning curve. And so I think that he and the offensive coordinator and the offensive line and the weapons they all have to be able to work together in concert. I would hope that the Bears have a C.J. Stroud type of spurt about their team, where it's like for Houston, he came out of nowhere and the team was able to get to the playoffs, which is great. I think that Caleb Williams, because of his demeanor, and he's played in big games before, he won't have an issue with the media because he had all of Orange County talking to him after every game. And there's a lot of pressure in L.A., as you well know, Brandon. It's like, whatever you think of the Rams and the Chargers, the pro team in Los Angeles is USC. It is. That's how it's covered. That's what people care about the most. They couldn't care less about the Rams and the Chargers. So I would say that from the media standpoint, Caleb will be fine. He'll handle the Chicago media because he had tougher in L.A., no question. But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. But I think that blessed with good health, I think that's a baseline for what he could do as Bears quarterback in the first year.
With the learning curve, do you expect high amounts of interceptions, or do you think it'll be middle or lower end? What do you expect for interceptions, fumbles, that kind of stuff?
Man, I mean, look, the speed of the game in college is different from the NFL. I watch a ton of college football, and I know that as fast as those guys are in college and the pros, it's even faster. I remember Justin Fields saying that he thought that the game was slower in the NFL than it was in college. And
big mistake.
He got his ass whooped in preseason.
Yeah,
because I think one of I forgot what game it was. The Bills. I can't remember. It was a preseason game, and the lineman knew that quote. He goes, "How fast was that, kid?"
Yeah.
While Justin was trying to adjust his helmet on the ground, right?
He killed him.
I would say that. I would say that I don't know the number of fumbles. Who knows? I mean, anything could happen. But I'm just saying that I don't think that the turnovers as far as interceptions will be as big as some thinks for a rookie because of the amount of weapons he has. Brandon, look, we all know the game. You know that you got to get the ball out quickly. That's something that Justin did not do. Justin, I remember watching him at Lake Forest last year, and I hadn't seen him all spring, summer. I stand on the sideline, and he gets the ball, and he's doing this. He's got the ball and has this arc thing, this little thing with his arm where it's like he gets the ball and it's like this. And I said, what is this? I thought they worked with him on this whole wind-up thing. Get the ball. You got less than 3 seconds to make a decision. 2.5 is what it is. 2.5 seconds. Get the ball out or throw it out of bounds. Because you don't have time to sit there and just pat the ball, run around, pat the ball, look. Like the way the defenses are, there's no time for this. Whatever that was, that hitch he had, right?
The hitch.
So from Caleb Williams, it's get the ball and get it out. And he's got 3 wide receivers and a tight end and DeAndre Swift to get the ball. So this is not like the Justin situation where he had one guy. There's 4 or 5 guys he can get the ball to. So I would say that the interceptions should not be the huge issue for Caleb Williams. Hey, 4 and outs, throw the ball away, throw it into the dirt. That'll happen. He's a rookie. But he's got to get used to the speed of the game.
It's interesting that you talked about that hitch because we were at the old Mongos with Jim Miller, and Jim Miller was talking about that hitch. And quarterback Jim Miller said they also did an injustice to him because there should be somebody there with the whistle blowing it at, like you said, 2.5, 2.7, whatever, getting that ball off. And I said, don't you think that it would behoove them to have somebody else there, like a veteran with like a paintball gun, shooting him every time he doesn't get that ball off? And he goes, whoa, 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 whoa. You're adding a little bit too much there, kid, but I see your point. You definitely got to.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, listen, don't take it from me. You heard it, Brandon. You heard it. A lot of us on this call heard it as well. It's just that he was the slowest in the league getting the ball out. And some would say, oh, that's on coaching. Oh, that's on the offensive line. Oh, that's on the weapons. Dude, I don't care. You got to get the ball out of there or you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
We got hindered several times, and you cannot do that. You have to be able to have plays, even if it's 5 yards, if it's 7 yards, if it's 10 yards. Man, you got to get the ball out. And one thing about Caleb, again, it's only based on college.
Yeah.
And when you have an iron gate as an offensive line, and you do have time, that dude was catch the ball, pat it, boom, it was out. It has to happen in this league. Tom Brady says all the time, if I can't get the ball out in 2.6 seconds, I'm fucked.
Wow. Yeah. It was a big difference when he lost Jordan Addison and company the year before when he was, and here's the deal. Here's what I always say after you saw, and hindsight's always 20/20, right? I was excited. I kind of liked the Brandon Rice thing, J.A. Rice's kid, whatever. But let's be real. He almost became undrafted, Hood, and so did the other receiver that we had. I mean, I'm like 2 nearly undrafted receivers versus all the other guys that went in the first round where you have potentially a first rounder or 2 guys that were really good. You know what I mean? It just, it's kind of, it's not really an apples to apples, but when you see the drop off in the offensive line and all the guys that they cherry picked and got drafted the year before from USC and who he had and what they had, let's just say that I hope that we see more of what he had in the year prior to than what was this year, and not all of it was his fault. And I also kind of feel that way with Justin too. Do you think that in Pittsburgh is the best landing spot for him, Hood, as far as like being able to get to that next level under Arthur and company and a good coach and just that kind of foundation?
I think all Bears fans hope that he's able to have at least 51% of the snaps.
4th round pick. Yes, sir.
Okay, fair enough.
At least 51%. Russell Wilson's at the twilight of his career. I was told from people in Denver how difficult it was for Sean Payton and for Russell Wilson to get along. So now, to me, I feel like this is last chance for Russ. I feel like this is the end. Either he's going to flourish or this will be the end. And by the way, you did not play bad football last year. It wasn't Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson, but it was solid, despite all the issues he had with the coaching staff and the players in Denver. And what Justin Fields, I think, is a good landing spot because if Russ gets hurt, Justin Fields can be able to have a redemption story. And by the way, as a Bears fan, I'm rooting for Justin to do well. Despite the 51% of snaps with that draft pick, look, he's not a Bear anymore, but he was a good guy, good dude. Yeah. And so he probably feels like, man, I'm getting like Caleb's getting support that I never got, as far as wide receivers and infrastructure and all that. But hey, man, you have to ask yourself the question, just like Ryan Poles had to ask the question. You had to ask yourself the question: do you see Justin Fields as a $50 million a year quarterback? And I think we all know what the answer is to that. And that's why he's in Pittsburgh today.
Sean, do you have a question for him or anybody else have a question after Sean? before we let him go?
Yeah, you know what? I saw him, this interview, and first of all, he looks relieved, right? He doesn't have the weight of the Charter franchise on his shoulders, the crazy media. I saw him relieved, and I'm happy. I'm really happy for him. You mentioned 51%. Why do you think they wouldn't get him the 51%? Because Russ is not the long-term answer. You got him because he's $1 million. He only costs $1 million. That's why they got him. All right. But then they got Justin. If you think Justin can be your future, if you think you fixed him and you got his fundamentals down, which they already did, they already got his footwork. I was watching his footwork. I'm like, thank God. I was screaming for 2 years. He drops back with his right foot first, but that's neither here nor there. Why wouldn't they give him a solid look? Because if this guy, because you might not have to give him $50 million a year now. You may can give him 35. All right. That's a hell of a lot less than 50 because his first year, why do you think that
a lot?
Why do you think that Pittsburgh is not going to give him that whole 51 or give him 51% to see what they have if they want to move forward with him?
Because Pittsburgh's a model franchise and they went through the BS. They said, hey, man, no controversy. Russell Wilson's our starter. Now here's the thing. This is Mike Tomlin, a man of his word, and a coach, and as a player's coach, he's going to give Russell Wilson every opportunity to succeed and fail, unless it goes absolutely backwards where they bring in Justin Fields. The only way that Justin Fields plays is because of injury or because the team is bad, really bad. Because here's the thing: Russell Wilson is a veteran and a proud veteran, and he deserves this opportunity. And for Justin Fields, I want to see him out there too, but I think that the way Pittsburgh does things, and it's the right way, you give Russ every opportunity to succeed or fail. Well, look what happened in Denver last year. That didn't work out well. He got benched at the end. They gave him every opportunity because that's a guy that's going to the Hall of Fame. And so I think that that's the reason why that he might not get 51% of the snaps is because they're going to give Russ the opportunity. And also, it's Mike Tomlin's it's his reputation on the line. That dude's never been under 500. Like, you think he's going to let Russell Wilson take him down? No. He's going to stay over 500 now. He's going to take one of those quarterbacks in a dark room, shut the lights off, and he's going to put his forearm to his throat and say, hey, MFer, I'm not going under 500 because of you. Figure it out. That's what's going to happen, man. He's going to like the doppelganger Omar Epps is going to turn that light out on him, and it's going to be hell. Somebody's going to get over 500. Somebody's going to do it.
The incentive isn't there. The incentive isn't there for the Steelers to play him, like you said, J Hood. If they a 6th-round pick turns into a 4th-round pick, maybe a 3-year deal for $15 million turns into a 3-year deal at $35 million a year, like you said, Sean. If he does play well and they play him, so if they could let him sit it out, they keep their 4th-round pick and they can get him at a bargain, going forward and still have their draft capital. So I don't see the incentive for them to play Fields.
But you still got to see what you have, though. I mean, I guess you can play 40% of the snaps.
Yeah, you see them in practice, though, too, right?
You can play in 40% of the snaps and still see what you got and say, okay, well, we'll give you 15 mil, 20 mil a year, and it's a hell of a lot less than 50.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sean, what did we give? What did we give that one backup that was from? He made his whole year. He made his whole career as a backup. It was like 10,
Chase Daniel.
Chase Daniel. What did we pay him?
I think $10 million.
10 mil?
Or was that Andy Dalton?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could still make some good cheddar out there as a backup, maybe even 15 mil or something like that, just to kind of tide him over to see exactly what you got from him. I understand what you're saying.
Well, also, it also depends on what happens in the NFL. I mean, if there's some quarterback competition, like if these 3 or 4 teams need a quarterback at the end of the season, and Justin Fields still has a big question mark unknown, there could be a little bit of a bidding war. I don't expect it to be anything huge, but he could still make himself some good money.
Teams always need QBs, especially when you look around the landscape of the NFL. I mean, there might be half the teams need a QB. You never know what a team might desperately offer them out of just hope.
How many QBs changed teams this last offseason? It was something crazy. It was like 30.
Carousel.
Many of us would love to hold that clipboard and not work. That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't think Chase Daniel's complaining about his career, man. He's healthy. He's
he made a career out of it.
Yeah, I would love to be Chase Daniel.
Yeah, he made career earnings $43 million holding a clipboard. What did he sell? 4 times in his career?
Yeah.
$43 million. That's crazy.
I love it, man. That's good chunk of change.
It's a good gig if you can get it.
That's a good podcast too. Pretty good.
Yeah. Sean, anybody else want to throw something out there real quick before we let Hood go?
Jay, it's been awesome having you.
I got to water the grass, man. Hurry up.
All right. Just curious, who do you got in the series, Minnesota and Dallas, the NBA Western Conference Finals? What did you say?
No, I haven't answered yet.
Oh,
because I'm thinking because it's so tough.
Bro, I want Minnesota so bad. I love Minnesota. I love the Bulls. I love the Bulls. I just wish the Bulls looked like Minnesota, if that makes sense. I like the big guys. I like Anthony. I love the whole team. It's great, man.
It's a tough question because I like both teams. Have you heard anything from Kyrie Irving this year? Zippo.
Oh, wow.
Have you heard anything from him? So he's really locked in. He's always been a terrific basketball player. I think we all have known that. But I really think that Minnesota's got something going. You ever see it? We've known in sports a team doesn't know what they don't know, meaning like they're just playing. They don't understand the circumstances. They don't care about KG and those teams in the past. They're just going. And it's amazing how Minnesota's been going, playing well. They've made Karl Anthony Towns like a good player. Like we thought that he was a soft center, and we thought he was like this generation's like Dwight Howard, like cat, always losing, soft in the middle. But look how and the whole Twin Towers thing, as Brandon talked about.
Yeah,
when you thought about it on the surface, you go, Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns on the floor together, like that's not going to work. They don't do that anymore. 2 bigs. They've been able to make that work. But the key to all of this is not only Ant-Man, but also Mike Conley. We have a point guard out there to make everything work. I think that matters too. Edwards is just a fantastic player. And we haven't even seen the best as of yet. That dude already, he's not even 25. He goes, we haven't done anything yet. I don't know what this is like. They just know what they don't know what they don't know. And I like that. Nothing against Luka, nothing against what Kyrie Irving's done. I think that's been a good team. But I'm locked in on Minnesota for a 7-game series. I think that they can do it. I think that's just one of those teams where they're young enough. Karl Anthony Towns is coming into his own. Chris Finch is walking around with, he got the crutches, with a busted leg, and he's still coaching the team. There's something to this team where it's young and just moving forward, and they're not worried about the circumstances. I like them a lot. Actually.
Yeah, they're an awesome defensive team too. They can lock down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they play like they got nothing
Can Minnesota
to lose.
beat Boston?
Ooh.
You think Minnesota can beat Boston?
Well, yeah. Tell me, is Porzingis healthy? Because that matters too. Like Porzingis,
I don't think so.
like Porzingis would have been able to win, to help the Boston win in regulation, and not for it to go to overtime last night. I think that he's a key that no one's talking about. Tatum and Brown are good players, but are they superstar players? That's the question. Like you're up 10, and they're just like, we're good, we'll just coast. And then all of a sudden, here comes Indiana shooting threes with Tyrese Halliburton, Nembhard, and some of the others. Indiana scores a shit ton of points, and we saw that all in the regular season, right? So just like Boston just comes out there, just like, yeah, we're good. We'll just a 10-point lead, 12-point lead. We'll just coast. I want them to take it to another level, Boston. You just can't relax and just like, no, we're so talented that we'll just coast through. Just like, that's the thing. Like, could Minnesota beat Boston? I think that'd be a problematic if Porzingis is out there. But I just think that Minnesota can win this series, though. I do. You know what? I'm going to bet it right now, matter of fact.
All right. I got
breaking news, folks. Breaking news.
Hood is betting Minnesota.
Doing it right now.
I love it.
But not for the IRS. Not for the IRS.
Jay, you got to send us your WNBA bets, man. Like, get us in on that money.
Listen to this.
Add
Look
that
at
to
this
the
guy.
Yeah,
Look at this guy.
absolutely.
His hat. Look at this guy. His hat is in hand. Look at that. Looking for a
Let's
handout.
go, man.
Looking for a handout.
in hand. Hey Hood,
No.
outside of that moment where you touched that gentleman's heart that was living homeless in his car, and you touched his heart, and he listened to you all the time and helped him get through a really rough patch. Is there something else that stands out in your illustrious career that, as far as sports goes, Chicago, that's like your Mount Rushmore moment?
Being a Southsider, being a White Sox fan, I remember being in Beverly and doing a bar show the night that the White Sox won the World Series. And between 93rd and like 127th, like on Western Avenue, that's what I'm Western Avenue, 92nd to like 127th, you could not move. I couldn't get my car out of there. Everyone was partying in the streets. Everyone brought their brooms out. They had the brooms out, and they were happy that they were able to sweep the Houston Astros. It was really amazing. That's a moment I'll never forget. Tears, grown men coming up to hug me when they won the World Series. It's like, it was amazing, the moment when the Sox won the World Series and just what it meant to the South Side. I'll never forget that, because you got people running out of their neighborhood, out of their homes, just to be on Western, just to celebrate the White Sox winning the World Series. I'll never forget that scene. I was in studio when the Cubs won the World Series. I was on State and Lake. Everybody huddled around our State Street studios, looking up at the monitor, and they could hear the game out on the street. And it's just like hordes of people, just thousands of people in front of our studio, flooding State Street to see the Cubs win the World Series. And just to see that scene until like 4 a.m, people on State Street, State and Lake, and all up and down State Street, just celebrating and just happy to see the Cubs. That's when the city comes together. Even Sox fans, when the Cubs win the World Series, they're like, you know what? You won I got mine, you got yours. Okay, congratulations. Keep it moving. But yet people love a celebration because we don't get that very often in our city.
Oh yeah.
I celebrated for you guys this year when you busted out the campfire shake. That looks amazing.
It's the biggest winner on the South Side, next to me.
You've been awesome, Jay Hood.
Yeah, Jay Hood, thanks a lot for coming on, man. We really appreciate you.
Very inspirational.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Jay. Thank you so much, man. It's a great time, great stories.
Indiana Fever +5 against the Seattle Storm.
Take it.
There you go, Kyle.
Oh, we got more breaking news.
All right, I'll jump on it, man.
The Sky is a 15.5 point underdog against the Liberty. Holy smokes.
You gonna
I
bet
just
that?
pulled them out in the preseason.
Gonna lay off that.
Oh,
That's something. Wow, I didn't
That's a
see
lot
that
of
until
points.
now.
I'm gonna
Holy
follow. I'm gonna
smokes.
follow you on this Fever bet.
It's good. They're gonna break through at some point. I think it's tonight. I'm looking at this number here. Yeah, 5. Yeah, 5-point underdog. What's the over under? 166.5. We'll investigate that.
Yeah, she
All
looks
right.
more and more comfortable every game.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Hood.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot, Jay.
Brother.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man.
All right, so guys, really quickly before we wrap this up, there's something that I want to talk about that's a little near and dear to our hearts. This man opened up his doors and helped us raise nearly $20,000 for Steve Mongo McMichael in his fight against ALS, and now he's in the worst position right now. It's with heavy heart, but I have to bring to you guys this news. Scott Bridges is in stage 4 cancer, and they're having a fundraiser for him September 27th from 4 p.m. to midnight. That's at Avenue 912. That's in Griffith, Indiana. There is also, if you call up there at the bar, they have, and then also on our Chicago Sports podcast Facebook, there's a little QR code that you can scan and or just call in and help put money towards his fight against that. So all of his treatment and whatnot, it's pretty bad. It's spread to his bones. So he's doing the best he can. He's trying to walk right now. I think he said he got up to 3 miles. He's trying to strengthen his bone density and all that kind of stuff before the treatment starts. So, yeah, guys, just keep that in mind, man. So he's been there for a lot of people. He's done a lot of benefits. He's a great guy. You guys personally met him recently when we did that show over there with for the draft. So good guy, man. Good, solid guy. So anyways, outside of that, gentlemen, is there anything that you guys want to close with? I want to thank you all personally. This is a weird shift for us, unlike Sean, who's doing this basically 24/7, man. The guy's on morning, noon, and night. It's unbelievable, man. He covers for all the way from the Western Pacific to the Atlantic time zone, man. It's crazy. Is there anything you guys want to bring up that we didn't touch today in Chicago sports?
Fight on, Scott. You're in our prayers.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Sean. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for
Sean.
Yep. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem, guys. It was good. It was fun. Good time with you guys, as always.
Yeah, always.
John,
Good to see you again, Sean.
tell everybody where they could find you and what times you're on.
Yeah, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can check me out on a YouTube channel, Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube channel, on our Roku television. If you have a Roku channel, so if you have a Roku TV, you can download the channel to your television. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 Central Time, and then I do a podcast with Nomad. We talk. It's all Bears content. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. On Mondays and Fridays, we're on at 3 p.m. and on Wednesdays, we're on at 1 p.m. So you can catch me there. And then, any other pods that ask me to join, I'm more than happy to, hop on and talk sports, talk Bears, talk Sox, talk Bulls, talk Hawks. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and if you guys ever want to get
He's the
on,
busiest
just
man in
personally,
hockey.
dude, he really is. If you guys ever want to get a hold of him and be a guest, either contact him or me, and we'll get you on. He puts a lot of guests on and stuff, talk about it. I've had a really good time with him over the last couple seasons, the last couple years. Good, solid guy. Learned a lot from him. Hats off to you, Sean. You're doing amazing work over there, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, just reach out to me on Twitter, on Instagram. You can't reach out on Facebook right now. Someone hacked my IG account, so that really sucked. And they I don't know what the hell they created, but they suspended my Facebook account, so I had to go in and I canceled that account on Instagram. I reached out to them to find out, hey, that wasn't me. It was hacked. I'm trying to get my Facebook account back, but to this point, I haven't heard anything. And you know how difficult it is to try and deal with Facebook because they don't get back. They don't want to get back to you. They don't get back to you. So I may have to start another one. So reach out to me on Twitter and or IG if you want. I'm more than happy to chat there.
Good looking
All
out,
right.
man. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks again, Sean. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, guys. You have a good night. All right.
You too, man.
Yep.
No, you
Thanks
too,
for coming
man.
on.
All right.
And as he parts, just want to give you guys a heads up really quick. We have tomorrow night little bit of news that we got to break up. A little bit of business. Tomorrow night we have Wendell Davis, wide receiver Wendell Davis from the Chicago Bears. I'm sure you historians, all of you guys, got really good minds on you. Michael, especially, man, you just took me through to over 2 decades of hockey that I had no idea what the heck you were talking about. I was like, it was really cool. But yeah, Wendell Davis, man, dude, I'm excited to have him on. That guy, he rides his bike all around freaking. He's like right there, Soldier Field. He's really excited to come hang out with us at the tailgate and all this kind of stuff. And he's always up there at Soldier. So well connected. I'm really excited to have him on tomorrow night. So everybody tune in 8:30. Well, Pinky will be in the building with Q and all them boys, and B will be there. I'll be there. So it's going to be a good time, man. So 8:30 p.m. Central. That's pretty much it. We got some upcoming guests, but I don't really want to get into it until we get a little bit closer. I like to keep it close to the vest until we know for sure it's actually going to happen and what day and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of good stuff headed our way, folks. So thanks again for joining in. Be a friend, tell a friend, leave a 5-star review. You all know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can keep up with all of our latest content. Each one of these boys at some point will have their own shows. They're all leaders, and they're all do a really great job. So it's kind of amazing for us all to be together on this. But pretty soon they'll all be branching out, doing their own thing. So thanks again, everybody. Thanks again, Patty. Everybody in the chat, you guys were amazing. You guys were going off. It was crazy. Like everybody that was in here, we had over 150 in the building. So cool. Everybody was in here. Jones, Scottish Bear, Bearlissimo even stopped by. Simply Me, Dobbsy.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Brandon, Squeegee. Yep, exactly. Like tons of people just pouring in and still messaging right now while I'm getting through this. There's more messages coming through. Illinois Jones, he was in here. Armando always travels with what do you call it? I think he worked with, or they were football players. They were on the same team together, him and Sean Sierra. So a lot of people in here, man. It was really cool. So parting, anybody else got anything that they want to say? Anything I forgot that we might want to bring up?
Just thank Jay Hood again for being such an awesome guest, right? And, giving us time. He was phenomenal, and we were blessed to have him.
And a shout out to all the sponsors as always. Bridges,
yeah, man. Let's give a quick shout out to the sponsors, man. We really didn't get a chance to hit up TC's World of Wonders. That's get a hold of them. They got all your jersey, sports needs, hats, all that stuff, memorabilia. Get a hold of them. Bridges Scoreboard, our Northwest Indiana sports headquarters with the Hall of Fame menu, coldest beer in Chicagoland. River Street Tavern, they're 102 River Street. What's the actual address? I got to get that dialed in, Kyle.
Well, that's at 102 North River Street in Dundee, East Dundee.
East Dundee, okay. Open Tuesday through Sunday, right, bro?
Yeah.
Tell them about that freaking awesome burger. It's like $2. Build your own burger or something.
Yeah, so Tuesdays we do half price tacos and trivia. Wednesdays we do $2 burgers, and then everything you add on has an additional cost, but still great deal. And then Sundays is half price wings.
Dude, I need to get a hotel room and just stay there Tuesday through Sunday 1 week. This sounds great.
Don't forget about those disco fries, man. They're the best thing on the menu.
That's
What'd you say?
Too.
What fries? Disco fries?
Yeah, they're amazing. They got pork and cheese and bacon. Dude, it's absolutely amazing.
I like their nachos. The nachos are awesome.
Ooh, that sounds good. Serendipity Ice Cream Parlor, where it's always summertime at Serendipity. They've got amazing. My daughter's up there working right now. I'm excited to go up there and surprise her. She was here at the house cleaning up the building, the Hyatt's Estates, because she was hooking it up because my wife just had a birthday. So I was like, hey, come over here and hook it up, and then we got our anniversary Sunday. So I'm excited about all that. So yeah, she's she hooked it up, doing double duty. I love having kids, man. It's great labor. I'm gonna pay her for it too.
Anniversary, man.
I was gonna say
happy early anniversary, bro.
Yeah, thanks, man. 10 years of putting up with me, man. Oh my God.
Poor woman.
You must be a saint.
Right? What else? Yeah, exactly. Very strong woman. I think she did something really bad in the day, and now she's trying to get her way to heaven or something. Must have been terrible, What else? Budget Cars is another sponsor of ours. So just want to make sure we hit everybody up. I think we got a hold of everybody. We got so many sponsors. Underdog Fantasy. Yeah, that's a huge one, man. Underdog Fantasy is great, man. You can play fantasy year round. You can get 5 picks right and make bank your money by 20 times. First $100, they will match. Enter the promo code CSP for Chicago Sports Podcast. I think that's it. What's that?
Worth?
Oh yeah, Worth Stadium Club. Yep. I'm a little rushed, so I'm just kind of like getting it all in here. Sean is actually working on a couple for us right now. I think Kyle might even be working on something. So we're not done completely yet, but yeah, man, it's been a great fun ride. We got 792. We only need 8 more subscribers to get to 800, boys. And then that we got like 4,500 members in the Facebook. So we're trying to get everybody to come on over. Could you imagine if everybody merged over to freaking the YouTube? That'd be amazing, man. That'd be so cool.
Well, if you're watching now and you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Let's get to that 800.
Yeah.
Go win yourself some money tonight. I'm going to throw down some money on the Fever for sure. I'm going to take Jay Hood's advice.
Okay. Yeah, leave me a text because I'll forget as soon as I'm like that freaking what do you call it? The goldfish. You got to tap on the freaking glass to get my attention, man. What's this guy say? Jones. He said start serving poutine, fries, cheese curds, and brown gravy. That sounds delicious.
It's a Canadian dish. It is delicious.
Oh, is it? You like it, Kyle?
Yeah, it's really good, man. You have to love the cheese curds, but they do it a little bit differently. But usually, if you can find it out here somewhere, it's usually pretty good.
Okay. All right, boys. Hey, thanks a lot. Bear down, Chi-Town up, and man, thanks again, everybody, for showing up. You guys just hang out with me for a second after we end the show.